Welcome back to Heroic Book Adventures. I'm Steve, and it's been a little while since I uploaded a video. I needed to take a few months off there from this hobby, and because sometimes life just happens. Thank you to everybody that's reached out, messaged me asking how I'm doing, and there's been a few channels that have mentioned me in their videos saying they're hoping I could come back and make more, and the booktube community is so wonderful. Thank you, everybody. I'm doing well. I've got some good people in my life. I'm living very comfortably and content. Things are good. It just seems like every couple of years my lifestyle just kind of gets flipped upside down. And this time it just happened to be for the better. Things are well. So I'm hoping I can get back on track here and blasting out more of these book reviews. Today I've got Leigh Brackett's The Sword of Rhiannon. And yes, every time I see that title, it makes me think of Fleetwood Mac. But this is one of those cute little ace pocketbook sized ones. It's a little bit beat up, but that's okay. I think it's still got a few readings left in it, and I just had to be a little bit careful of it. 40 cents sticker on it, original price from 1953. But Leigh Brackett, along with Catherine Lucille Moore, were the first two women to be nominated for a Hugo Award. And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, that Brackett actually won a Retro Hugo posthumously. So for any of us fans of genre fiction, I feel it is worth getting to know those two ladies and their contribution to literature. So the Sword of Rhiannon is generally labeled under the subgenre of Sword and Planet, which is kind of a play on sword and sorcery, but it's sword and planet because they're usually set on Mars or Venus or one of those. Another title was Planetary Romance. Not romance in the lovey-dovey sense, but the traditional use of the word as like a fantastical adventure story. So you got to remember, when you read something like this was written in a time before we really knew much about the other planets. Okay, so um, when somebody reads this, I hear people will complain, well, that's not what Mars is really like. And it's like, well, that's not the point. It was just written that way because at the time, these were just these other planets we didn't know nothing about. And it created a setting for authors to be able to speculate and just create these fantasy worlds out there. Because all we knew was there's a planet out there somewhere, didn't know anything about it. So it was perfect for fantasy, science fiction, and adventure types of stories settings. So that was real popular at that point in time, those kinds of stories. So just read it for what it is and enjoy it. But the main character is Matthew Carse, who is an interplanetary archaeologist. He's stationed on Mars, okay? And he happens to stumble upon this ancient relic from 1,000,000 years prior, the Sword of Rhiannon, and finds the tomb where this Rhiannon, who was some kind of like evil god and was entombed there by his peers 1,000,000 years prior. So, of course, in studying the tomb, he ends up being sucked back into time through some, technology he doesn't understand and gets brought back 1,000,000 years prior. So he's on a totally different Mars. And when he steps out from the tomb, everything's completely alien to him. He doesn't understand the situation, nothing that's going on. And eventually he runs into people in the nearby city. And of course, he looks like an outsider, so they immediately attack him like, what is this guy? Where did he come from? He's one of the enemies. He's a spy. And he ends up getting captured and enslaved. And everybody's kind of wondering, is he just some guy? Why does he have this Sword of Rhiannon, which had been hidden from them for years? And some people speculated that he's actually a reincarnation of this evil deity, Rhiannon. So it's a cool, like I said, fantasy story. A lot of people would assume because it's set on Mars that it's more science fiction, but I'd say at its heart, it's really through and through more of a fantasy tale. And it's a really good one, in my opinion. It's got all of the kind of elements that I want in a good fantasy tale. There's just companions that are unlikely come together because of the situation they're in. There's some good humor thrown in there in appropriate places. There's some cool races. There's like sky people that have wings. There's some that they're called swimmers, and they're kind of like akin to like dolphins. They're humanoid, but dolphin-like, and reside in the sea. And then there's like serpent type people that of course you would imagine are the bad guys in it. And there's high stakes, danger. Just a really cool story. I went ahead and gave this an 8.5 out of 10. I actually wrestled with bumping it up to a 9 because that's actually how much I enjoyed this story. But I just don't think that it did anything like spectacularly. And that's okay. For me, an 8.5 is still a very excellent book. I guess I'm just kind of a harsh ranker in some ways. But it's really good. It's one of those that I feel like if you're at all a fan of classic fantasy, Sword and Planet, any of Edgar Rice Burroughs' interplanetary romances, um, you're going to like this. This is definitely one worth checking out. And I've got a handful of other Leigh Brackett tales on the shelf, and I've got to get to reviewing those as well because stuff like this, it's starting to get up there in age now and it's being forgotten, and we got to make sure this good stuff sticks around, so we got to keep talking about it and keep reading it and introducing it to new people. So I will see you great sword wielding evil deities on our next Martian adventure.